And now the end is near, and so I face the final curtain. My friend, I'll say it clear, I'll state my case, of which I'm certain. I've lived a life that's full. I traveled each and every highway, and more, much more than this, I did it my way. Regrets.
Paul Howe Hunt, 82, of Loudon, Tennessee, formerly South Bend, Indiana, and Des Plaines, Illinois, passed away from natural causes on Wednesday, November 28, 2018. On June 18, 1960, Paul married Lillian Lil Hunt, who preceded him in death. He was also preceded in death by his older brothers, Fred R. Hunt III and Ronald C. Hunt.
We have to tell the Hawaii story, you and I. Yeah. There's no way we can't talk about G-Pa and not talk about the Hawaii story. So tell me where it all starts out for you.
G-Pa came to us and said, I'm willing to take you anywhere on the planet.
Wherever.
And that's a pretty tough ask for a 17-year-old who's not well-traveled at all. I remember specifically us spinning the globe, just kind of like, where should we go?
Looking to, thinking about throwing a dart and deciding.
Yeah.
Where did we considered Ireland, I think, right?
Ireland, yeah.
We
landed,
talked about Hawaii, Ireland, and those were the final two candidates.
Anyway, we landed on Hawaii, and so we made all the preparations.
We were geared up, ready to go.
We
had
were
everything we thought we needed.
We were expecting a fully funded trip because that's how it was communicated to us.
Correct.
And then we get there, and we come to find out
fully funded means something different in Grandpa's world sometimes.
So we didn't actually realize that it wasn't fully funded until about halfway through the trip, and our body was literally eating itself. So we found out later that G-Pa unfortunately forgot to budget in food, and so we ended up eating sparsely. I think that's probably
that's the nice way to put it.
Appropriate word.
Yeah, as far apart as possible,
with
as little spending as possible.
Yeah.
Vending machines were definitely in play.
Yeah, I remember we went to Pearl Harbor, and we didn't eat breakfast, which was weird because we always eat breakfast.
Every day.
And then we got on the ship. We got off the ship.
Still
we were
no
like,
food.
okay, it's time to eat. That's logical, right? Nope. Wait for the bus. Still no food. I remember calling my mom saying, Mom,
we haven't had food.
Mom, he's not feeding us. And she's like, oh God, use our credit card. That's totally okay. And eventually we found out he didn't budget in food, and then we made plans accordingly. But it was an uphill battle. The kicker is you would think if he forgot to budget in food, that probably meant he was going way over budget, but he did a couple suspect spending adventures that are probably worth mentioning as well.
Yeah, so the ring? You're talking the ring? We got to talk
the ring or the timeshare. Take your pick. I'll do the other.
All right. So, well after we've realized that G-Pa's budget was questionable, we were wandering through some shops. I can't remember what island it was on, but there are Hawaii gold shops everywhere, and we have passed by probably hundreds of them. But this particular shop caught Grandpa's eye to the point that he stopped in the middle of the road to try and look at this store while there were hundreds of cars behind us honking. And eventually we found a parking spot. We walked into the store. We thought for sure there was no way Grandpa was going to buy anything.
Because this was right when we realized he was way over budget.
Oh, yeah.
And he wasn't feeding us. So naturally it would be like, okay, we're not going to
There's
spend
no
money.
chance, right? So after much deliberation, Grandpa walks out with a pinky ring worth $400. Now, this is no ordinary pinky ring.
Oh, no.
Because it has a yin-yang. And so the odds-on bet was that Grandpa would never be seen wearing this ring ever again. He wore it the entire trip. It never came off. So he got pretty good use out of it.
The funny thing is, Brad and I, we can communicate without saying anything. I remember Grandpa holding his pinky ring right up in front of us, and both of us are like,
whoa.
It's nice. But that's not all. So I think after the pinky ring, or maybe before. I don't even remember. But
It all
anyway,
runs together.
Grandpa. Yeah. And, we ended up going to a timeshare presentation, and
For the free lunch.
which was a little bit weird because we were on vacation, and Grandpa pitched it to us saying, we're just going to get the lunch and leave. And we executed that plan because we ate the lunch and then realized it was going to be a couple hour long presentation. We were
And then we ate again. I'm pretty sure we went back and ate again because we were so
the old
hungry.
2-for-1.
Yeah.
And then and we specifically said before, we sat Grandpa down, had a man-to-man, face-to-face conversation, and said,
Grandpa, you're not going to buy a timeshare, right?
and he said, absolutely not, just the free lunch. And then
2 hours later.
came out and he said, well, I said, and I already knew he had gotten one. I think we all did. But then he walked out and he, of course, said, it's just a week. Great deal. Couldn't pass it up. I think obviously it was, these are highlights that are funny, but it was an awesome trip.
Yeah.
And it was super fun to get to spend a week with him and just see him interact with the general public. I think we spent quite a bit of time people watching.
Entertainment on its own.
Yep.
Pretty much.
But yeah, we'll miss you, Grandpa. Love you. Thanks again.
Chicago.
Paul was born in Chicago, Illinois, to Alice E. and Fred R. Hunt Jr. He attended Maine Township High School, where he lettered several times in baseball as a pitcher and first baseman. Paul was a proud lefty, claiming all sorts of privileges and benefits as a result. As a pitcher, he threw a mean curveball, screwball, and knuckleball, but the best was a drop ball. His brother Tim says it fell off a table. He was president of the Maine Township High School Spanish Club for 2 years and resurrected his Spanish skills during his retirement, using them during his many travels abroad.
They have the time of their life. I saw a man, he danced with his wife in Chicago, my hometown.
Much to the surprise of his former teachers, Paul returned to teach middle school for 6 years at his former school in Des Plaines. He then went to work for Science Research Associates, a division of IBM, where he successfully sold education supplies, running weekend workshops for teachers, which routinely drew 300 or more participants. He ended his career in sales for Chatsworth Data and retired early, enjoying many leisure years, traveling, golfing, and volunteering.
That great street, I just want to say, they do things that they never do on Broadway. Say, they have the time of their life. I saw a man and he danced with his wife in Chicago. Chicago, that's my hometown.
Whenever we were growing up and going on family vacations, we always had a hotel reservation every place we went. We did a long day of driving each time we did a driving trip, and we always had a Holiday Inn hotel reservation every time. However, whenever we would pull into the city we were supposed to stay, instead of doing what most people would do, which would be to drive straight to the Holiday Inn and check in and go relax, we had to drive to all the other hotels that town had to check and see in case there was a better deal, and we could pick something out that would be cheaper, better, nicer, and almost every time we still ended up at the Holiday Inn at the end of all of that. And the other thing we always had to do, if we were in a state capitol, we had to go to the state capitol building, even though us kids did not want to do that. That's a terrible time for kids. We had to drag in there and go all around the state capitol and see every bit of that building. But we did have a lot of fun vacations and a lot of fun times to go along with all that.
Happy we'll be beyond the sea.
All right, another good Jeepa story. So as a teenager, I think it was maybe 13 or 14 years old, this was one of Jeepa's many diets he was on, trying to lose a few pounds. No problem there. The thing was, I was looking for some sort of tool and went out in their garage at Twin Lakes, and I happened to see a bag of peanut M&Ms, which I thought was weird. So, of course, me being me, I walked right in and had them in my hand. Jeepa and Jima were standing there, and I hold them up and I go, "Jeepa, what are these?" And his jaw kind of dropped a little bit, but he tried to catch it real quick. And Grandma pounced like nobody else's business. She popped him right in the arm and said, "Paul, are you kidding me? You're supposed to be trying to lose weight." So Grandma tossed him out, put him in line. That's not the end of it, though. I went up to his computer desk and found another peanut M&Ms. And so I have a theory that he probably have them stashed all around. But I enjoy that memory because Grandma Lil, she was one of the few, if not only, people that could get Grandpa back on the trail or on the path. So that was a fun memory.
Paul was an avid traveler, always seeking new adventures. Before Lil's death, they traveled to interesting places such as Egypt, the Holy Land, and many European destinations. He continued traveling on his own and with other family, visiting 42 countries, including Turkey, Russia, China, Vietnam, Australia, New Zealand, Bolivia, Peru, and Guatemala.
But your love don't pay my bills. I need that's what I want. That's what I want. That's what I want. Money don't get everything, it's true. But what it don't get, I can't use. I need money. That's what I want.
I'm not 100% positive this would classify as my favorite, but it's a good one, and it kind of typifies Dad for me, Jeepa, to a lot of people. So a couple years ago when he decided to build his house in Tennessee, they were ready to move some of their stuff from Ohio down to Tennessee, and he called me up and he said that he was not going to hire movers, professional movers. I said, okay, that sounds about par for the course. Dad likes to kind of do things adventurous, especially when it can kind of conserve a little cost or whatever. We don't really know what we're getting into sometimes, but I said, hey, I'll be your partner in crime. So I flew up to Tennessee, and I realized he was renting a truck. Okay, that's fairly standard. We went to the storage place, and he had hired a couple local kids, I think, that had done some work on his car or something like that to help us. And we proceeded to unload a couple storage bins into the back of this truck. I mean, really loaded up, like to the fullest. Then I realized that we're going to put a trailer behind the truck to put his cabriolet, his little red, I think he called it, his convertible, onto the trailer behind the truck. And then I learned that we were going to put the bikes behind the cabriolet on the trailer behind the truck. So we did all that and then proceeded to get on the road, which was okay. I mean, we didn't have any great adventures. We had a couple hot dog stops at Speedway, little convenience stores for our lunch. And the most interesting thing occurred probably halfway through the trip when this car kept passing us up and then kind of slowing down and passing us up and slowing down, kind of looking at us, and I was trying to figure out what was going on. Then I saw him pull over to the side of the road, and we passed them, and I'm still a little confused. Then they caught up to us quick and put a sign out their window to us that said, hey, your bikes are falling off. So we had the truck with the car with the bikes, and the bikes were falling off. So we had to go ahead and pull over and kind of re-rig because of course the bike rack didn't really quite fit on the car properly, and that's what kind of caused that little problem there. But it was a great trip despite that, or not because of that. But the thing that was so great about my relationship with my dad was that we could be in a truck for 9 hours and just talk for 9 hours straight about all kinds of different things, different topics. It was never a quiet moment because he was just a very interesting man, I thought. And we had a lot of discussions and debates, and I think that was the thing I looked forward to most for any time I spent with him, and particularly in a little adventure like that. So that's what I'm going to miss about Dad, but he passed along to me a good example of how to have a relationship particularly with your adult kids. So that's something I'm really trying hard to emulate as I go forward in my life. So Dad, thank you, and we'll miss you. My pay? Oh, I got 2 coupons. was my payment. He had loaned me some money, and it was a coupon against the loan or something. I don't know, some sort of paperwork that got situated to compensate. So that was it. Plus the plane ticket. So that was good.
I'm a traveling man, made a lot of stops all over the world, and in every port I own the heart of at least one lovely girl. I've a pretty senorita waiting for me down in old Mexico, and if you're ever in Alaska, stop and see my cute little Eskimo.
Paul had the unique ability to bring loved ones together and create an environment to share amazing experiences. The primary benefactors were his family, whom he treated to many trips, including family cruises and visits to White Lake Resort in Wisconsin. He also started the tradition of traveling to Turkey Run State Park annually, which has gone on for 51 years and has no end in sight. Paul took great pride in his family, and nothing brought him more joy than bringing everyone together to make beautiful memories.
I held you oh so tight. Whoa, I'm a traveling man. Whoa, I'm a traveling man.
All right, well, one summer, it was summer after 7th grade year, Kevin and I decided to go to Camp Eberhard up in Michigan. Well, neither of us live near there, so we both flew in, and Grandpa picked us up from the airport in South Bend, and so he picked me up first because my plane came in first. We went and picked up Kevin, and we stayed with him for a few days, both before and after the time on the camp. Well, one day we were hungry, and Grandpa decided to make frozen pizzas. So he made us a frozen pizza, and we ate it, and you know how Grandpa is with his food. He scarfed his right down, and Kevin and I came closely after, and he said, "Y'all still hungry?" Or you guys, I guess. I say y'all, he doesn't. He said, "You guys still hungry?" And we were both like, "Yeah, we're still hungry. We're 7th graders, we're grown boys." So he goes to make another pizza. So Kevin and I are just waiting, talking, and he brings it back, and he sets it down, one for each of us, and he doesn't go right away to eating his, which is weird. He's watching us, and he goes after his food whenever he's ready. So that was a little weird, but Kevin and I both dug in. We took a slice, we each took a bite at the same time, and immediately spat it back out. And we both looked at Grandpa, and we said, "Grandpa, what the hell did we just eat?" He said, "Oh, I wanted you to try it without judging it first. It was I put anchovies underneath the cheese." Because he knows when we're not going to try something, but he wants us to try new things all the time, new foods, which I typically I'll try anything first, but anchovies are a little scary. And I think I would have been right in not trying them because they were not very good, but he wanted us to try them. He was gung-ho on getting us to try them. He's like, "You didn't like it?" And we were like, "No, Grandpa." So the thing was, he hadn't bought a third pizza, and he put him under the whole pizza, so he had to go back to the store to buy a whole new pizza to make us a second pizza, and he had to eat the entire anchovy pizza. So that was an interesting endeavor. I think that's my favorite Jeepa story.
Dum 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 doo dum dooby doo 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 dum softly darling dooby doo come softly darling dooby doo come softly darling dooby doo come softly darling come softly, darling, come to me, stay. You're my obsession forever and a day. I want you to know I love you so. Please hold me so tight all through the night. I speak softly, darling, hear what I say.
Mine's pretty recent. Mine was while I was I think it was a freshman in college, maybe sophomore, but I'm pretty sure it was while I was a freshman. My spring season had just started because I play baseball at Spring Hill, and he was on his way down to Marco Island because, of course, he has a timeshare down there, because it's Grandpa and he loves his timeshares. But he was on his way down to Marco, and we were playing a game at Pensacola Community College, so he decided to stop by and watch my game. Well, he had been to Spring Hill's campus, but like I said, the game wasn't at Spring Hill, so he didn't really know exactly where he was looking for me, or where I would necessarily be. He found the field no problem, I assume. But he got there, and I don't know, we were probably in like the first or second inning, but he got there just a little bit after the game started. And I guess I should start out by saying that I don't get embarrassed very easily. Like, I can probably count the times I've been embarrassed on one hand. Probably don't even need that. Very, very rare occasion that I get embarrassed. But Grandpa, like he does, waltzes right up to our coach, basically walks into our dugout, and I'm out on the field. Like, it's in the middle of a game. Like, I'm out playing third base. And he walks up into the dugout and shouts to our coach, like I'm out on the field and I can hear him clearly. He says, "Do you know where my grandson Alex Hunt is right now?" I could not do anything except put my face into my glove and shake my head. Mid-game, and this is happening. It's just, it's Grandpa. It's Jeepa. That's the only way I can explain it. Only person I know that would just, without missing a beat, thinking it's completely ordinary to disrupt a coach in the middle of actively coaching a baseball game, to ask him where his grandson is. But, obviously I appreciated him being at the game and taking the time to come and support me, and everything I did. And I'm going to miss that, and we all miss you, Jeepa.
All right, so I, like Uncle Steve, also have a Jeepa moving story. And this was a different time and a different place, but not drastically different, in that Jeepa enlisted my help to get him and all of his belongings out of his South Bend house when they sold it, ready to move. They wanted to move some things to various parts of South Bend. I believe some things are still stored in my garage. But I have a little Grand Am at the time and no truck, so I enlisted the help of my friend Jeff, who had a big old truck. Told you, hey, you know what, Grandpa, he's a good guy. He's gonna pay you. You'll be happy you said yes. So I talked him into it. Jeff and I go after work on a Friday, thinking that we're gonna show up to the South Bend house and there's gonna be a pile of boxes, a pile of stuff, and we gotta toss it in the truck and drive it where it needs to go and toss it out and be done. So we show up and nothing is loaded at all. Nothing's boxed up. It's just stuff in the house. It was as if they were just living there, not prepared to move at all. So they're trying in the backs of their minds, without having prepared at all, to tell us what needs to go where, what goes to the storage, what stays in South Bend, what goes to where. I think they were going to Ohio at the time. And so we didn't know what we were getting ourselves into. I knew instantly, actually, but I didn't tell my friend Jeff what he was getting himself into until a bit later. So Jeff, being a very nice guy and very polite, very, very friendly person, got talking to Susie for a while, okay? And eventually I had to tell him that we got to move. You got to cut the conversation off. And so Susie followed us around and talked to Jeff while Jeff loaded all of her things, which was, perfectly fine, and Jeff was perfectly okay with it. And about halfway through, it began to rain. So in the midst of the rain and in the midst of several hours worth of frustration and gathering things from all across the house that G-Pa marginally knew where things were, and so we got everything loaded up into the truck, ran off to the storage unit, and by the end of it, Jeff and I were so frustrated that we were just lugging things in and moving it all away. But I can tell you that Jeff was a very happy camper when he left, because he got a very nice paycheck out of the whole thing, and as was Grandpa, he got it done.
That's life. That's what all the people say. You're riding high in April, shot down in May. But I know I'm gonna change that tune when I'm back on top in June. I said that's life. And as funny as it may seem, some people get their kicks stomping on a dream. But I don't let it get me down. 'Cause this fine old world, it keeps spinning around.
The most admirable qualities about Paul were, in the words of his grandson Jeremy, his enormous smile and permanent positive attitude. He was regularly the life of the party, cracking jokes and entertaining everyone with his dry sense of humor. Even at his weakest in the hospital, he joked with the nurses, hospital staff, and others, often at his own expense. His smile and good humor will be deeply missed by his family and friends.
In the race, that's life. I tell you, I can't deny it. I thought of quitting, baby, but my heart just ain't gonna buy it. And if I didn't think it was worth one single try, I'd jump right on a big bird and then I'd fly. I've been a puppet, a pauper, a pirate, a poet, a pawn and a king. I've been up and down and over and out. And I know one thing, each time I find myself laying flat on my face, I just pick myself up and get back in the race. That's life. That's life. And I can't deny it. Many times I thought of cutting out, but my heart won't buy it. But if there's nothing shaking come this here July, I'm gonna roll myself up in a big ball and die.
In a white room with black curtains near the station. Black roof country, no gold payments, tired starlings. Silver horses ran down moonbeams in your dark eye.
Okay, Paul, my favorite man. I love one of the things about him was he always liked to whistle, and he whistled so well. But when we would go shopping, he would be with me, and I'd turn around to get something, and I'd turn back, and he was gone. And I thought, now where is he? And pretty soon I'd hear the whistle going, and so I knew he was still in the store, and I'd start to follow the whistle, and I always found him, usually in the candy aisle or over looking at the raspberry donut aisle. Those became favorite memories of mine because I knew where I could find him.
Moon river, wider than a mile, I'm crossing you in style someday. Oh, dream maker, your heart breaker, wherever you're going, I'm going your way. Two drifters off to see the world. There's such a lot of world to see. We're after the same rainbows and waiting round the bend. My huckleberry friend, Moon River and oh, dream maker, you heartbreaker, wherever you're going, I'm going your way too.
And I realized it was because he was so good at finding purpose in his life and helping you find purpose in your life. I mean, he was not the CEO of a Fortune 500 company. He didn't cure cancer. He didn't hit 40 home runs in the major leagues. But he had incredible purpose as a husband, and as a father, and as a grandfather, and as a neighbor, and as a community service person. In the last couple weeks of his life, he would talk a lot about his legacy. And he mentioned things like the windows and these other activities that he did. And I kept saying to him, Dad, your legacy is not the things you did, although they're good. It's the impact and the influence that you've had on those around you. And that positive impact is going to continue on after you because of you. And I think you can see that.
All right, there they are. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. What a legacy he has. All of them are following in Grandpa's footsteps. They're all in college. They're following their dream of what they want to do and what he encouraged them to do. I'm so proud of all of his legacy. He told me the weekend we realized he was no longer going to be being around here much longer. He said to me, Susie, I've had a good life. I have no regrets. And I have a fabulous legacy that I know as long as they're alive, my spirit is going to be alive with them.
Bye, Miss Rand.
Hi. Woo! Hi, kid. Grandpa, say hi.
Hi.